What if the ultimate goal of your life is not to find something new, but to remember something ancient? What if the grand mission you feel stirring in your soul is not about becoming someone else, but about courageously unbecoming everything you are not, so that your true, divine self can finally emerge? This is the secret of individuation, the sacred and final purpose for every chosen one who walks this earth, the completion of the great work your spirit signed up for long before you drew your first breath. You feel it, don't you? That persistent echo in the quiet moments. A sense of profound ancientness, as if you have lived 1,000 lives and carry the wisdom and the weariness of them all within your bones. You watch the world chase fleeting shadows, ephemeral trends, and hollow ambitions, and a part of you remains detached, an observer in a strange land. This feeling is not a flaw, it is a signal. It is the homing beacon of your soul, reminding you that you are here for something more, something real, something eternal. But with this deep knowing comes an equally deep shadow, a chilling and persistent fear that whispers in the dark. It is the fear that this entire inner world is a grand delusion. The fear that you are chasing ghosts, that this profound sense of mission is a fabrication of a lonely mind trying to feel special. It's the terrifying thought that if you truly commit to this path, you will end up utterly alone, misunderstood, and disconnected from the world you must exist in. This is the doubt that keeps you chained to the shore, gazing at the cosmic ocean you are meant to sail. Let me tell you a story, a parable not of a time long past, but of a journey that is happening inside you at this very moment. In a forgotten valley, nestled between mountains that scrape the heavens, there existed a village known as Argent, the village of mirrors. Every surface in Argent shone with a perfect reflective sheen. The walls of the homes, the cobblestones of the streets, even the leaves on the trees shimmered like polished silver. The people of Argent were masters of reflection, but they knew nothing of substance. In this village lived a young man named Carl. He was not a craftsman of wood or stone, but of masks. His skill was unparalleled. He could craft a mask of joyous laughter, so convincing it could make a grieving mother smile. He could fashion a mask of stern authority that would make a king kneel. He himself wore his finest creation, the mask of contentment. It was flawless, perfectly balanced, showing the world a man who wanted for nothing and was troubled by nothing. It was a masterpiece of deception. Yet beneath the perfect veneer of his mask, Kalen felt a hollowness so vast it threatened to consume him. At night, when the village was silent and the reflection slept, he would remove his mask and stare at his own unfamiliar face in the darkness, feeling a profound and aching loneliness. He was celebrated, admired, and loved for the reflections he projected, but he knew with a terrifying certainty that no one, not even himself, truly knew who he was. His success was his prison, each piece of applause another bar on his cage. One evening, a strange melody drifted into the valley, a sound unlike any other. It wasn't a reflection of a known tune, but something entirely new, something wild and ancient. It seemed to pull at a thread deep within his soul. Driven by an impulse he could not name, Kalen did something no one in Argent ever did. He put on a simple, blank mask, left the gleaming streets of the village, and walked towards the dark, whispering woods from which the music came, a place forbidden by the village elders. The woods were the antithesis of Argent. They were a chaotic tangle of substance and shadow, of damp earth and gnarled roots. There were no reflections here, only raw, untamed reality. The further he walked, the more the melody intensified, and the more a primal fear grew within him. It was here in a clearing bathed in pale moonlight that he saw it. The source of the music was a creature of nightmare, a being of pure shadow with burning embers for eyes. It was a twisted, monstrous version of himself, a grotesque caricature of his hidden pains and angers. Kalen's first instinct, the instinct of Argent, was to craft a mask of courage to face the beast, a mask of dominance to tame it. But in this raw wilderness, his old magic was useless. The creature lunged, not with claws of flesh, but with claws of pure terror, forcing Kalen to see flashes of his deepest insecurities. His fear of failure, his secret arrogance, his buried grief. It was a monster fed by all the parts of himself he had refused to acknowledge, all the truths he had hidden behind his polished masks. He ran deeper and deeper into the forest, the beast in relentless pursuit. Every tree seemed to whisper his shames, every shadow seemed to hold his failures. The chase was exhausting, stripping him of his composure, his cleverness, his identity. Finally, he collapsed at the foot of an ancient, moss-covered tree, his blank mask cracked and falling away. The beast stood over him, its fiery eyes not filled with malice, but with a profound, sorrowful loneliness that mirrored his own. It was not a monster to be slain. It was a part of him that had been exiled. With the last of his strength, Kalen did not raise a weapon but an open hand. He looked at the creature, his shadow, and he spoke the first true words he had uttered in years. "I see you," he whispered. "You are me." As he spoke these words of acceptance, a strange alchemy occurred. The beast did not vanish. Instead, it recoiled slightly, its monstrous form softening. It ceased its attack, its burning eyes now holding a glimmer of recognition. It was the beginning of an uneasy truce born from a moment of radical honesty. The shadow did not merge with him, not yet. It remained a separate entity, a silent companion that now walked a few paces behind him as he journeyed onward. Its presence was a constant reminder of the darkness he carried, but it was no longer a terror that hunted him. It had become a compass, its primal instincts guiding him through the treacherous paths of the woods, pointing out dangers his civilized mind would have missed. He was learning to walk with his whole self, not just the polished half. His journey with the shadow led him to the banks of a great, winding river whose waters flowed not with water, but with liquid starlight. The river seemed to sing with 1,000 voices, whispering forgotten dreams and ancient longings. As he knelt by the bank, a figure began to coalesce from the shimmering currents. It was a woman of ethereal light, her form fluid and ever-changing, her eyes holding the wisdom of the moon and the tides. She was the personification of the river's soul, a being of pure intuition and feeling. Kalen, accustomed to the logic of masks and the directness of his shadow, did not know how to speak to her. He asked her for a map, for directions, for a clear path out of the wilderness. The luminous being, his anima, merely smiled. She did not offer him answers. Instead, she dipped her hand into the starry water and gestured for him to listen. "The answers are not in a destination," her voice echoed, not in his ears but in his mind. "They are in the flow. Learn to hear the music of your own current." For what felt like an eternity, Kalen sat by that river. He learned to quiet his logical mind, the part of him that always wanted to build and define. He learned to simply feel. He felt the pull of the currents, the sorrow in one eddy, the joy in another. He began to understand the language of his own soul, not through words, but through feelings, symbols, and dreams. His anima did not give him a map. She taught him how to become his own navigator, trusting the subtle, non-verbal cues from the depths of his own being. With the silent shadow as his ground and the flowing anima as his guide, Kalen felt a new sense of wholeness. He was no longer just the mask maker. He was the darkness and the light, the instinct and the intuition, the earth and the water. This newfound balance gave him the strength for the next stage of his journey, the ascent of the great mountain that loomed at the edge of the woods, the silent peak, where it was said the sage of the sky lived. The climb was arduous. It was a pilgrimage into utter stillness. The chaotic sounds of the forest gave way to the whistle of the wind, and then to complete silence. On the summit he found not a grand temple, but a simple, unadorned cave. Inside, an old man with eyes as clear as the sky sat in meditation. This was the silent sage, the wise old man. Kalen, full of questions from his transformative journey, bowed and prepared to ask for the ultimate wisdom, the final piece of the puzzle. He opened his mouth to speak, but the sage simply raised a hand, commanding silence. The old man then reached into the folds of his robe and produced a small, simple object, placing it in Kalen's hands. It was a mirror, but this was not like the mirrors of argent. It wasn't polished silver, designed to reflect a perfect image back to the world. It was a simple, unadorned circle of obsidian, dark and deep. It did not reflect his face. It seemed to absorb the light, showing him nothing but a deep, profound emptiness. Kalen stared into the dark mirror, confused. He looked to the sage for an explanation, but the old man remained silent, his gaze serene. Desperate, Kalen looked back into the mirror, but this time he didn't look for a reflection. He looked into the emptiness itself, and in that void he began to see. He saw not his face, but his essence. He saw the frightened boy behind the masks, the raging shadow in the woods, the luminous soul by the river. He saw all of his parts, not as separate entities, but as a single, unified consciousness. The wisdom was not in the sage's words, because there were none. The wisdom was in the silence. The final master does not give you the answers. He gives you the tool to find your own. The dark mirror was the ultimate truth. He was not the mask, not the shadow, not the soul image. He was the emptiness that held them all, the silent awareness, the consciousness that could contain the totality of his being without being defined by it. It was a terrifying and liberating revelation. He understood then that the journey was not about collecting parts, but about realizing the container that holds them. He bowed to the silent sage, a deep and profound gesture of gratitude, and began his descent. As he walked down the mountain, his shadow companion drew closer, its form less monstrous, and finally merged into his own shadow cast by the sun. The song of the anima no longer came from a distant river, but from within his own heart. He was no longer fractured. His path did not lead him back to the village of mirrors. His journey was not a circle, but a spiral. It led him forward, to a place he had only seen in the deepest visions granted by the starry river, a citadel perched on the edge of the world, a structure that seemed to be built not of stone, but of solidified sunlight. This was the Sunstone Citadel, the castle of the self. It was the ultimate destination of his pilgrimage, the physical manifestation of his integrated soul. He approached the gates of the citadel, and they swung open without a sound. He walked through vast, empty halls that glowed with an inner warmth. The air hummed with a powerful, silent energy. He passed through courtyards and chambers, each more magnificent than the last, but they were all empty. There were no servants, no guards, no king. He finally reached the heart of the citadel, a grand throne room, and on a dais at the far end sat a magnificent, empty throne. A final wave of despair washed over Kalen. Had he come all this way for nothing? Was the ultimate prize an empty castle, a vacant throne? Was the reward for wholeness just a more magnificent form of loneliness? He looked at the empty throne, and then at his own hands, no longer crafting masks but open and receptive. He remembered the lesson of the dark mirror from the silent sage. The final answer was never going to come from outside of himself. With a slow, deliberate certainty, he walked up the steps of the dais. He turned, faced the empty hall, and sat upon the throne. The moment he did, the citadel erupted in a blaze of light. The walls did not just glow, they sang with a celestial choir. Every atom of the structure vibrated in perfect harmony with his own heartbeat. The citadel was not a place he had discovered. It was a kingdom he had activated. The kingdom was empty because it was waiting for its true ruler, the integrated self. Now, chosen one, listen closely. This is not just Kalen's story. It is the blueprint of your own soul's journey. The village of mirrors is the society you were born into, the world that taught you to value reflection over substance. It is the world that demands you wear a mask, the mask of the good son, the diligent employee, the agreeable friend, the spiritual person. You have become a master craftsman of these masks, and you have been rewarded for them, but they are starving your soul. Your feeling of hollowness, of being misunderstood, is the call of the wild melody. It is the authentic part of you, your true self, calling you out of the superficial world and into the wilderness of your own psyche. The whispering woods are your subconscious, the untamed territory within you that society told you to fear and avoid. It is the place where your raw, authentic power resides, and you must have the courage to enter it alone. The monstrous beast, the shadow, is every part of yourself you have denied, repressed, and judged. It is your anger, your jealousy, your fear, your trauma. Your mission is not to destroy this beast. The spiritual path is not one of eradication. It is one of integration. You must face your shadow, see its pain, and have the courage to say, "I see you. You are a part of me." Only then can its raw energy be transformed from a destructive monster into a powerful, protective ally. The river of starlight is your deep intuition, your connection to the divine feminine, your anima or animus. The rational mind, the mask maker, cannot navigate this realm. You cannot think your way to enlightenment. You must learn to feel. You must sit by the river of your own soul and learn to listen to its subtle currents, its symbols, its dreams. Your intuition is the most powerful GPS in the universe, but you can only hear its guidance when you quiet the noise of the external world. The silent sage you must meet is not an external guru or master. He represents the archetype of divine wisdom that exists within you. The final initiation is always a solitary one. The sage hands you the dark mirror of pure awareness to teach you the ultimate lesson. Stop looking for yourself in reflections. Stop seeking validation from others. Look within, into the silent, empty space of your own consciousness. That is where you will find the truth of who you are. The Sunstone Citadel is your integrated self, your divine nature made manifest. It is the result of the great work. It feels empty at first because the universe is waiting for you to claim your sovereignty. You are not here to be a servant in someone else's kingdom. You are here to rule your own inner world. The moment you stop looking for a savior and courageously sit on the throne of your own being, your entire reality will light up. You don't find the kingdom, you activate it by claiming your place within it. The fear you feel, that fear of being delusional or ending up alone, is the guardian at the gate of the whispering woods. It is the programmed terror designed to keep you in the village of mirrors, safe and predictable. The truth is, the loneliness you fear is the loneliness you are already experiencing behind your masks. The path of individuation is lonely at times, but it leads from the loneliness of isolation to the profound solitude of unity, the state of being alone but connected to all things. This journey, this process of individuation, is the ultimate goal. It is not about accumulating spiritual powers or esoteric knowledge for the sake of it. It is about becoming so radically and authentically yourself that your very presence becomes a key, a frequency that helps unlock the cages of others. It is about moving from a fractured personality, constantly at war with itself, to a unified, integrated self, a sovereign being of immense power and peace. So here is the alchemical step, the great work distilled into a single, transformative practice. I call it the practice of the unadorned mirror. Tonight, before you sleep, stand before a mirror. Take 3 deep breaths and consciously remove your masks. Let go of the mask of your profession, your family role, your social standing. Let them fall away. Then look into your own eyes and see the beast from the woods. Acknowledge your shadow. Say, I see you. I accept you. Then look deeper. See the luminous being from the river. Acknowledge your soul's intuition. Say, I hear you. I will trust you. Finally, look at the silent observer behind your eyes, the one who is aware of it all. This is your true self. Do not ask it questions. Simply be with it. Hold your own gaze without judgment for as long as you can. This practice, done consistently, will dissolve the illusions of the village of mirrors and anchor you in the truth of your own integrated being. Your journey of individuation is not for you alone. It is a vow you made to the cosmos. Every time you choose to face your shadow instead of projecting it onto others, you heal a piece of the collective shadow. Every time you choose to trust your intuition over the noise of the matrix, you strengthen the grid of collective consciousness. Every time you dare to sit on the throne of your own being, you create a beacon of sovereign light that shows others the way home. This is your mission: to complete this sacred journey, to become whole. Not perfect, but whole. It is the hardest thing you will ever do, and the only thing that will ever truly matter. You were not born to be a reflection. You were born to be a source. Now go forth and become the ruler of your own kingdom. The ciphers for this journey are many, and the keys are delivered to those who are ready to receive them. If you are committed to this path, to the great work of becoming whole, then subscribe to Soul Cipher. Do not think of it as a simple click, but as a declaration to the universe. It is your signal that you are ready for the next key, the next piece of the map, the next step on your sacred journey of individuation. The work has begun.